Hello everyone, we've got another video of the Pride in Our City project here, and today we are joined by some of the Hull Roundheads team, which is the inclusive rugby team in Hull. So we've got Billy with us.
Hi.
Toby, Jose,
Hi.
and Stephen. Okay, how are we all doing, guys?
Yeah, not bad, thank
very
you.
well.
Really good, thanks.
Good. So we'll jump straight into it then. We're starting off with you, Toby. So why is Pride important for you?
I think it's personally, I'm finding it more important than ever. I think it seems like in recent years, a lot of the progress that's been made by the LGBTQ community has slipped back a little bit. So I feel like Pride is becoming more important. At the same time, I think having gone for the first time last year, I could see how much of a community thing it was. It wasn't just the LGBTQ plus community, it was kind of the whole of the community of Hull. And I think the combination of the two was a really kind of special mix. And I think that's kind of what makes it important. It's not just the LGBTQ plus community, it's your local community. So Pride kind of brings those two things together. So that's why I think it's important for me, kind of stitching together the area you live and the acceptance of the people that live around you, together with a community that's really strong, really close-knit itself. So, yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that makes it really special. Does anybody else have anything they want to add in there?
I think it's really nice when you see sort of like just especially when like you see all different sort of parts of the community you wouldn't have even thought like considered Pride as like being affiliated to that sort of thing, that like they're there and they're present and they're supportive. It's really nice to see all the different areas of community being represented.
Absolutely. Okay, so jumping on to the next one then. So Billy, this one's for you. How does attending Pride in Hull make you feel?
Included. For those that don't know me, I am transgender. So, and at Pride, the trans community tends to be quite a small community within Pride itself. It's one of the one places each year that I actually get to be surrounded by people that are like-minded. I mean, some of us, we vary as much as everyone else, but it's the one time I get to be able to express myself and feel comfortable, not having to worry about people knowing that I'm trans. I can just be me and just kick back and enjoy the experience and have the support that's there that comes with that. It's just very inclusive and it's non-judgy. That's I think the thing about Pride itself for me is I not only can you can educate people that you meet. A couple of people at last year's Pride, sort of just general conversation with them changed their perspective of trans people, but more so trans rugby players. And it was a safe environment that could happen. I didn't feel I had to hold back or not answer a question because I felt like I was in a safe enough environment that I could do that.
Yeah. And I think you touch on a point there as well that resonates with a lot of people in terms of just feeling safe to be your authentic self within that environment. And every now and again, I'm sure most of us hear the comments of, "Oh, we don't need Pride anymore. Everything's fine now." Blah 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 blah.
I mean, from my point of view, I think the thing that resonates for me is the one thing you still hear is that the T section shouldn't be there. That trans people shouldn't be at Pride, and that it's not sexuality, therefore it shouldn't be there. And that, I think, at the same time, I to a certain degree can see where people are coming from. I can see where the argument sort of comes from, but at the same time, we're a minority that are still abused regularly. We have an increase of deaths exponentially over the last few years. Pride is the one place that the trans community can be safe and can be authentic. And I think the worrying thing for me isn't the fact that that we get abuse from outside of the community. To me, it's upsetting that it comes more from within the community. When we should be coming together and supporting each other. Just because somebody's trans doesn't mean they're not gay, doesn't mean they're not lesbian, doesn't mean they're not bi. They don't suddenly not be part of the rest of the LGBTQ plus. We just happen to come with the additional difficulties of gender, that the average person within the community doesn't have. We shouldn't be excluded. We are still, there are plenty of us that don't just, they don't transition and just go, oh, I'm straight. There are plenty of us that still, identify as any of the other letters.
I'm really surprised, actually, Billy. Like, I'm surprised to hear that there's people that think that trans shouldn't be part of Pride, and that because it's not a sexuality thing. I'm surprised that, because for me, Pride and the Pride movement, I mean, that's where it comes from. It's all of it. It's LGBT and plus, whatever the acronyms have been in the past or whatever they changed to, at the end of the day, it's the same types of people, and it's all about being inclusive. That's why the acronym has grown, or whether you put a plus. It's disappointing to hear, and I am aware of it, of transphobia within our community, because I completely agree. Like, we should know better. We know the judgment, we know the stigma and the misinformation out there. So it is sad to hear, although I'm aware that is still happening in this day and age within, when Pride is almost in some senses more commercial, more mainstream, that still happens. That is really sad.
And the one thing I think people really need to remember, especially within our own community, is that it was trans women that were throwing the first bricks at Stonewall, that started off the Pride movement. And I think certainly from a Pride perspective, one of the things I always say is, if you don't think the tea should be included in Pride, don't come. As simple as that. It's an inclusive environment for everybody, but if you think somebody should be excluded from that, then just don't come.
Yeah, no, I have to agree.
Okay, so Toby, we've got another one for you. So, who or what makes Pride special for you?
Well, last year was my first Pride, so I came along where it was part of the team. I'd never been to Pride before. Hadn't really had that many gay friends before, or friends in the LGBTQ plus community. So I have to say, especially for last year, it's the only Pride I've been to so far. People are so my teammates, so it was amazing to be able to go with them and to march with them through the streets, and to see everyone kind of like lined up on the side of the streets, cheering and clapping and really enjoying it and really enjoying the day. It was really special to be together as a team doing that. It's disappointing obviously this year that we're not being able to do that, but I really look forward to doing it all again, because it was just really doing that next year again. Kind of heartwarming day, kind of seeing us all be together and have everyone around us as well. So,
Speaking very quickly, Toby.
Okay, so fantastic. Anybody else got anything they want to add on that question?
I mean, yeah, I'd just reiterate that it's just such a special feeling, like being amongst a big group of people who you've sort of bonded with and stuff, and then like just being in the parade is so it's so like fantastic. Like, that was the first time in the parade last year, so it was definitely an experience.
Brilliant. And so, Jose, coming to you next. So, do you remember your first Pride, and what was it like?
I do. My first Pride was in Hull, and it was quite. I'm not sure what year it was, but it was actually I was quite a lot older, and I'd already been out for quite a few years. And I think I had a specific view of Pride back then, which was maybe it wasn't for me. You know, I wasn't. I think I spent so long kind of wanting to be that gay person that wasn't like the others, just from kind of comments that you get from straight friends or people in your life saying, "Oh, you're not like the other gays," and this kind of awful, really, acceptance that I shouldn't have been looking for, but got validation from at the time. I think when I did come out, I just assumed that Pride was kind of oiled up, six-pack men dancing around in a very feminine way, and that wasn't me, and I maybe didn't want to be part of it. But then when I did go to my first Pride, and it was because my mum was working on it, volunteering on it, and it was on my lunch break. I was working in town, so I only went for less than an hour, and I didn't want to leave. It was amazing. It wasn't anything like I was expecting it to be. There was a bit of everything. So yes, there was shirtless people dancing, but there was also families there. You know, just all ages, all backgrounds. And it was like calm, but there was music. There was some people partying. There was stalls, educating people on things. I had a look around. I learned things that I didn't know. It was great, and I was really sad to have to go back to work. And then from that point on, I was like, I actually think this is important, and I've been going ever since. I'd say maybe it was, maybe like 5 years ago or something. It was when it was on Baker Street. So
yeah, so 2015 or 2016.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, at least you got that change of mindset then, and you can enjoy Pride now.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share a memory of their first Pride?
I mean, I'll be honest. My first Pride wasn't as me going and enjoying it. I was actually on duty with St. John.
Okay.
So my memories of the first Pride was of lots of people being sick and heat stroke and that sort of thing. So it was a very different idea of Pride. But I think from every Pride that I've gone from, I think that sense of you meet new people and you make friends, and you there's just something about Pride that brings people together. It's just like Jose was saying, you went expecting to see what you saw, and then you don't want to leave. And it's always very disappointing at the end of the night when we've had Prides that have gone into late into the evening, like the one at Baker Street that you were at. I mean, I think it was getting on for about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that, by the time we crewed off from the ambulance that year. And it was a very different experience being there as staff rather than taking part in it. But it was just, the atmosphere is amazing. The atmosphere, I think, it just makes people turn up with a very sort of set idea of what they think they're going to see, and then they often go away with a big smile on their face because it's completely opposite to what their pre-perceived prejudices are. I think it surprises people every year.
Absolutely. Okay, so to you next then, Stephen. So what's your most memorable memory of attending Pride in Hull?
Well, I was going to answer the last question because it's kind of the same thing. But so my first Pride was in Hull. It was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just the sort of build up to it. I remember like driving into town with a couple of friends and seeing like all the rainbows in all the windows and stuff. And like you could see a couple of the things in the parade, but it wasn't quite ready yet. And all the rainbow, like all the rainbows everywhere. And then we parked up and we went for like a brunch, and like my friends were like, "Oh, you were like ecstatic, like you just couldn't stop moving," like because I'd never been to one before. It was just that sort of like I remember, oh, where should we go and stand? Like, where should we go and watch? Like, oh, maybe this place. Like, we were on the monument in Queen Victoria Square, and like, I like stood up on the thing to like try and get a good view, and then one of the drag queens told me to get down because I might hurt myself. But it was just that like that build up, like, oh my god, it's like, and then you could hear it like approaching the parade, and I was just so excited. I think that's kind of like, I think just that like excitement and just that like looking forward to something so much, and then it finally happening was really nice. And then just obviously then it happened, and then I sort of was just like, oh, there's another one. Oh, did you see that? Like, just so excited about everything. So that was probably my like my first Pride. It was very memorable, just being so excited. Obviously, I'm still excited for Pride, like the ones coming, but I think just that first one, just that like, what's it going to be like, and then just being so excited for it.
Absolutely, and I think the parade always makes it that little touch extra special as well, doesn't it? And especially when, if you've not seen a parade before, or if you're in a parade for a first time, then I think certainly for me that's something I'll always remember, my first time in a Pride parade.
Yeah, well, of this time I was like, I was watching it, and like I had no clue what to expect because I hadn't been there before. So like when I think it was 1 year there was the big Jesus, and I was like, I was just like, what is going on? Like, but yeah, it was so nice to sort of like just have that like I don't know what I'm getting myself in for sort of thing. But it was so good.
Okay. So anybody else got any big memories that they want to share from Pride?
Last year it was really good being on the stage. You know, we did the white tea with the love there. Yeah, but you know, I think I can't remember if it was before or after, but when they unfurled the big the Pride flag along the crowd, that was amazing. We stood there and to see that, you know, in the sun, and yeah, all the huge crowd just really enjoying it and really being in the spirit at the moment. Yeah, that was really cool. That was a good moment.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my most memorable memories as well, because while I'm on the board for Pride, every year I'm working for MESMAC on the day of Pride, giving out sexual advice, condoms, testing and stuff. And last year was the first year that I managed to actually get up on the stage with the rest of the board from Pride. And I think that's always going to be the one thing that I remember, is looking out from that stage and just seeing a sea of people. And it's
I mean, when you're in the party, as much as you can tell it's full and you can tell it's busy, you have no idea how many people are actually there until you stood on that stage, and all you can see is just that massive colour.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so sticking with you, Stephen, then. So do you have any keepsakes or souvenirs that you've kept from Pride, and why have you kept them?
So I think the thing I've got is so when we were in the parade last year, we all had these like rainbow fans, and that's one thing I've kept. Well, one, because obviously they're very useful, and two, because like obviously it was such a nice memory of being like, obviously as I said before, I wasn't in the parade, but this year was, and then just I remember people being like work that fan, like, you know, like just like joining in with you as you're like as you're walking and stuff, and just being really like it was just such a fun and enjoyable time. And it just like again reminded of that like the togetherness, like obviously you've got so many different people in the parade and everyone's doing their own thing, and that's sort of what it reminds me of, really. And it's just it was again it's such an enjoyable time, and I think it will always remind me of that, albeit I think it's a bit tattered now, but but no, it always reminded me of just like being in the parade, being with everyone and just having a good time.
Fantastic. What about everybody else?
I think Toby has that exact fan as well, actually.
I think I had the same fan. I think you broke mine. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, no,
same. Yeah, fell to bits as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got. I mean, the.
Oh.
Liz ended up with like Liz's handbag was full of stuff like that. Like wristbands and little flags and all that sort of thing. But that one hangs pride of place on the cabinet above my desk. That one, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so coming back to you then, Jose. So why do you think Pride is important to our city?
I'd say pride's important for our city. I think it's a local thing. So as LGBT people, we do experience, abuse or harassment or judgment or stigma. And so in the city you've grown up with, that's the city where you've experienced those things the most usually. So then to have that day where the city, LGBT plus and allies are saying that this is we're proud, we're not ashamed, and we're here, and the visibility. I think that's why it's really important locally to each town or city that have a pride, because for all the LGBT people that are attending, they have faced horrible things happening to them in that city, and it's almost like the city saying, we don't stand for this, we don't agree with this. Any harassment you've faced, we're against it. And I think that's why it's important for me to have it in Hull and to have such a great pride, and for it to be so popular as well and have so many allies there and families, is because the more, especially young people, the more young people that are exposed, the more young people see that this is normal, people who are LGBT are just like them, mean that they're less likely to then go on to bully those people at school, or if they turn out to be one of those, they'll more chance that they'll feel less excluded because they've been to an amazing day that's fun, colourful, vibrant, everyone's happy, and there's people from all walks of life, and they know that it is okay. Whereas I suppose for me, not having gone to a pride until after coming out, I never had that, but I did face harassment and stuff like that, heckling, and got punched once. And you do take it personally when that happens in your city, because you're proud of your own city. I'm so proud of Hull, and to get punched by a homophobe or to get heckled at, or all of these things that happen in your own city, it hurts because that's somebody from Hull and you want to be proud of it. So I'd say that's why, long-winded answer, I think it's important to Hull for me, is because for all those negative things that have happened, for all those homophobes, or for all those transphobes that have done horrible things or said horrible things to my trans friends or people I don't know, it says there is more people at this pride event watching the parade, cheering on, than there are those people.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, is the fact that there are a lot more people who are open-minded and who are our allies rather than those that stand against our community. And the homophobes and transphobes will never win. So last question, this one's for you, Billy. Do you think pride in Hull has changed people's perspectives? And if so, in what way and how?
I do. I think a bit like going back to what Jose was saying earlier on about his perception before attending it was quite negative towards pride. And I've experienced, like last year at Pride, I was approached by a gentleman who, a couple of years before that, I had interaction with his child, who was going through gender reassignment. He was very negative about it at the time. He was convinced that his child had been brainwashed and that going to these types of events was the very reason why his child was now putting himself through unnecessary surgery. And at the time, I said to him, unless you've actually experienced it yourself, you can't possibly understand the support your child needs. You need to help your child embrace the community and embrace the support that they're going to get from that. So last year I was quite surprised when I came around the corner of by Queen Victoria's Square as we came through with the parade, to see he was stood there with his flags, with his whistle. He'd gone to the Pride the year before that with his child. He'd fully immersed himself in it, and it's completely changed his attitude towards the community. It completely changed his attitude towards his child's transition. It gave him the opportunity to go up and down the tents and get some information and actually, have something other than just his perceived ideas about what transitioning was going to be. And it made it easier when his child turned around and said, I want to be a boy, oh, and by the way, I'm gay. He actually had something that he could he could compute that, where before that it was like he was convinced, like I say, that she was going to ruin her life by transitioning, and that it was going to be this horrible disaster, and it's all brainwashed, and it's just a fad because everybody wants to be gay or everybody wants to be trans, and it's a thing. And it's like, you really need to embrace this. And my approach has always been the same. When anybody comes to me and asks me about transitioning, it is always to immerse yourself in other people, around other people that have transitioned, around other parts of the community. It gives you an opportunity to gain knowledge and understand experiences and broaden your idea of that. And for him, it worked. For him, it meant that he could connect with his child. Like I said, it was really nice last year to see them enjoying sat in the park and just really enjoying the atmosphere. And it was really nice to see him actually stood on the trans stall handing out leaflets, where you would not have got that the year before. The year before he was so, no, we're not doing this. Don't want to know anything about that. As if we'd stolen his child, as if pride in some way had stolen his child. And it's like, and that's one story. I mean, I've got lots of them, to be fair, that are like that. There's been other couples I've bumped into at various prides where we've actively encouraged them to come along and actually see what it's about, rather than just assuming that because it often is completely the opposite to what you're expecting. The very first pride that my wife Liz went to, we'd been together probably about 18 months. The rest of the world perceived us as a lesbian couple, which is weird because it's the one thing I've never identified as. And she'd never been to a pride. She's never taken part in anything along the community lines. And we'd gone to it. It was in West Park. We got there early. I've never seen anybody so excited to see a flag go past. So when the trans flag went past, followed by the rainbow flag, I'm pretty sure she may have even wet herself. She was super excited. And it was the best day, best experience she's ever had. She spent all day engaging with people and talking with people, and I've never seen her so excited about being somewhere before. And every year now she religiously goes and slaps her face paint on and gives a good war cry and joins in. But again, in the run up to going to that one, the 2 previous years was like, oh, it's not really for me. I don't think it's for me. I don't think it's something we should be doing. Very, very timid and afraid of what that scene was going to be. But when she got there, it completely changed her perspective of what pride is. And now, as the lads can attest, she is terribly excited when it comes to pride. Terribly excited. And she's there with the fags and the fans and all the little ornaments. I think, like I say, we came back. We had enough. We could have opened our own stall. She gets that excited, to be fair. But yeah, her perspective in the run up to her first pride was that it definitely wasn't for her. And it changed hers. And it changed her idea when it came to my transition as well. It gave her somewhere that she could connect with people that were support networks for other people that were trans. Because it can be a very lonely thing for the person that's supporting somebody that's transitioning. It's difficult enough when you're transitioning yourself, but she's my support network, but there was nobody there to support her. Yeah. So the community itself was where she found that, and that she found that from going to Pride. That's where she found the people that she could connect with. And in the run up to that, she had nobody other than me and her. So, and the problem with that is when there's no support network, you end up, your own stresses become, the stress of transitioning became quite difficult. So having that release and that support network at Pride with some of the trans groups that are at Pride, being able to go and have those conversations and have coffee nights and let rip and get rid of all the stress. That is what she found at Pride, and that's why I think Pride is and will continue to be really important to the community.
Absolutely. And I think the next time I ever hear somebody say, why do we still need pride? I'm just going to throw this video at them because that was just so many reasons as to why we still need pride.
Mm.
Okay, fantastic. Has anybody else got anything to add?
Don't think so.
No, we're all good. So, Toby, quick extra question for you then. If anybody wants to find out any more information about the Roundheads, how can they do that?
We can go online. You've got our website, and we're on across social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. I think we're always welcome to anyone who wants to join or wants to contact the club about coming down to training. We're a big welcoming group, and anyone can come along. Rugby's for everyone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
That's all right.